some of the things that interest me is when you find the things that are kind of off the beaten path. Today, I have found this place in Memphis, Tennessee. When I say find it, I kind of knew it was here, but I didn't really do any research on it, didn't really look at it. I just drove up on it one day and started trying to figure out what this place was. And when I dug into the history on the internet, it is absolutely enriched with history here. This place started off with Indians, went into the American Revolutionary War, or the War 1812, through those years and into the Civil War. Today, I'm going to be looking at Chickasaw Heritage Park. This place was first occupied by the Chickasaw Indians in the early 1600s to the early 1800s. And there are two mounds. And as a matter of fact, I'm standing on top of one of them right now. And this is really neat. I thought that these were ceremonial mounds, and they very possibly can be. And if that's the case, I don't know if I'm supposed to be up here or not, because I don't want to disrespect anybody's heritage. However, I noticed when I got up on the mound, it's flat and it's a square. And when I was doing research, one of the pictures that caught my eye was that how the Indians built their houses. Now, I don't know if I'm sure all Indians didn't build their house this way, but the Chickasaw Indians seemed like they built their houses, or they had like their chief house was built on a mound or something like that. I don't know the background of it. I don't know all the history of it, but it's just ironic here that one of the mounds that's here is a flat, square piece of land where it seemed like they built buildings on top of it. So I am moving down to the bottom of this hill, and I just want to make mention something that caught my eye was when I was at the top of the hill a minute ago. There's a lower part to this. Now, when I saw pictures of the Chickasaw Indians, how they built structures, and it wasn't all structures like this, but they would build structures on top of the mound. Again, I don't know if that was for the chief or what it was. But I noticed that in the pictures that they would build a mound, a structure, and then build a higher mound, and then a structure. And of course, they also had ceremonial mounds. Now, I don't know if this lower part was a part of the mound that's behind me, or if it was just the way that they excavated the land. But I just wanted to throw that out there just to show you, and possibly that 400, 300 years ago, that this was a part of the Chickasaw Indians and them building houses on top of it. Or it could just be a ceremonial mound. So I'm making my way over to the other mound because there is some more things that I want to show and talk about. But before I get there, I want to share this. In 1739, the French explorers came and they settled in the property over there. It's Tommy Lee Park, next to Riverside Drive. And they built the fort there, and they made war against the Chickasaw Indians, trying to take over this part of the land. Well, they were doing well until they got struck with a plague. From my understanding, they came with 1,200 people, and then they ended up recruiting another 12 to 2,400 people, and so it just absolutely wrecked the campaign that they had for the whole reason why they were coming over here. The fort name was Fort Assumption, built by the French, and they end up leaving the fort because of the sickness, and therefore the Chickasaw Indians kept surviving at that time. However, if you study history, you'll know the story of when the Chickasaw Indians had to leave this place. It was approximately 1837. That's about the time that was the time that Andrew Jackson was the president. And you are the story of the Trail of Tears and so on. I don't want to get into all of that. I just want to tell you this. Before they left in the 1800s, this was an Indian trading post. And the fort that was built was actually here, and they named it Fort Pickering after Timothy Pickering, which was the Secretary of War at that time in the 1800s. By 1812, it was then abandoned, and then it was picked back up by the Confederate Army in 1861. All right, steep climb all the way up, and I'm on top of this, but you can see there's the I-55 bridge. There's the Mississippi River, looking kind of bare. So the Confederacy took over in 1861, and by 1862, there was a battle here called the Battle of Memphis. And the Union Army just absolutely obliterated the Confederacy here. It was really a war on the water. It wasn't much going on the land. And so the Union Army took over in 1862. General William Sherman took command here, being posted here by General Grant in 1862. And General Sherman expanded the fort. From my understanding, the fort was actually it was 2 miles long, all the way up to Bill Street, what I read. And so this fort was just really to occupy. They had a lot of guns here. I think it had 55 guns, heavy guns, to protect the fort. There was a lot of men here, but a lot of what this fort used was storage. They kept up storage here. They kept cannons here. They kept recruitment here, training recruits, just getting people prepared, and it was also a good supply line for the Union during the Army. Now, one of the sad things here, though, is that even though the Union took over, even though there were some good things that came out of the Civil War with the abolishment of slavery, the Civil War in Memphis just really hasn't been kind to each other. As you can tell, they have taken down all the Civil War artifacts that were on top of this hill. As you can tell on top of this right here, It was a pyramid of cannonballs. There is something cool I want to share moving down to the other side of this mound. Before we get there, I want to tell you this, that they believe that while William Sherman was the commander over this fort, it is said that they believe he planned out his march to the sea here in Memphis, Tennessee. And I find that absolutely fascinating. So this right here was actually built during the Civil War, and what they built it for was basically to store their ammunition for their guns. It is said that while they stored their ammunition, they found all kinds of artifacts and bones into this mound here. So this is very possible that it was a cemetery or a ceremonial mound, I should say. Really neat. Really neat. Did you ever dream about being who you are? Well, that's kind of random, but hey, that's a good thought.